Folks, we've talked on this show about Memphis allowing Elon Musk AI company to put up these turbines. They claim they have the proper amount. The others say, no, that's not the case. We've had Representative Justin Pearson on about that. Well, clearly the NAACP agrees. The NAACP and the Southern Environmental Law Center are going to sue Elon Musk AI company, XAI, claiming it is polluting black neighborhoods in Memphis without permission. Joining us right now to discuss this law. First of all, there was a news conference earlier today. We're going to play the news conference, and then we'll be joined by someone from the Memphis NAACP. So here's what was said today at the news conference.
This morning, the Southern Environmental Law Center, on behalf of the NAACP, sent a letter to XAI and its affiliates, letting them know that we intend to file suit under the Clean Air Act in response to XAI's continued use of unpermitted methane gas turbines in southwest Memphis. For the last year, these turbines have been pumping hazardous and smog-forming pollution into the air in South Memphis, a community already overburdened with industrial pollution. These pollutants can cause increased rates of asthma, heart disease, respiratory illness, and even cancer. The law is abundantly clear. XAI needed to get an air permit before installing and operating any of the turbines at their facility. Its failure to get a permit is an obvious violation of the Clean Air Act. Over the last year, you've no doubt heard a lot about a 364-day exemption that supposedly allows XAI to run these dirty turbines without any permits or any oversight. I want to be clear, there is no such exemption that applies to turbines. And nobody, not the mayor, not the Chamber of Commerce, not XAI, not the Shelby County Health Department, have been able to point to a single legal citation that would authorize these turbines to operate without a permit.
Yes. This opens the floodgates for more data centers to drain our community of resources and further pollute it.
That's right.
Where is the impact study on the number of jobs this will bring and the effect on the environment? South and Southwest Memphis have long been the dumping ground for toxic corporations.
Today is an extraordinary day in this movement for justice rooted in love, as we demand that clean air is a human right. And there is not a person, no matter how wealthy or how powerful, that can deny the fact that everybody has a right to breathe clean air. It's not a feeling, it's a fact.
Yes, sir.
This notice to sue XAI is a clarion call for unity across our city and across our county to unite in the fight.
Yes, sir.
There's no more time for political platitudes or to have leaders put their heads in the sand. Now is the time to stand on the side of the people. Mayor Young, Mayor Harris, Director Dr. Michelle Taylor, now is the time to stand on the side of the people. I want to give special thanks to the president of the National NAACP, Derek Johnson, to NAACP.
Joining us now is Bray Connor, the NAACP's Director of the Center for Environmental and Climate Justice. Bray, glad to have you here. So how long have y'all been looking at this? Folks, Representative Pearson has been talking about it for a very long time. Other residents have been talking about it. And when did y'all decide that now was the time to launch this action?
Well, thanks so much for having me this evening. The NAACP, as you know, because of our branches and our state conferences, who have been a part of many environmental and climate justice actions for a number of years, they were on the ground looking at these issues since XAI had started operating. They were asking questions, concerned about their health. They were concerned about what this would mean for the community. And so our branches and our state conferences, which are a part of our larger national footprint, they realized that there was an issue that garnered the attention not only of just the residents in South Memphis, but also of the entire country, to recognize that South Memphis was being seen as a sacrifice zone for this dirty data center.
What I'm still confused by is that if you build something in the city, in the county, there is a process. There's a process, and y'all have been saying that they have 30 plus turbines. They've been saying they have 15. I don't understand how hard this is. Doesn't the city or the county have the actual documents that show how many turbines they're using?
Well, your question is a great one. And the fact that the community had to uncover the extra turbines that were operating in South Memphis, it tells a larger story of the lack of transparency, the fact that the community themselves had to go out and uncover these methane gas turbines that have been operating in their communities. And these are the questions that we are asking. These are the questions that our branch leaders and our state conference president and those leadership members are also asking. Why is it that we have elected officials? Why is it that there is a county health department? Why is it that there are so many different entities who should be asking these questions, who should have the answers to these questions, but it really has lied in the hands of the communities to actually come forward and say, we actually, operated drones and were able to actually see that there were additional gas turbines that were operating at this data center.
Well, what I don't even understand is why even have drones? I mean, I don't understand. If you build something in the city and the county, there's a permitting process. There are inspectors. So no one from the city or the county has physically inspected this facility to confirm how many turbines are there?
Well, what I can tell you is that these are the questions that community members are asking. There's been a lot of conversations that have happened without there being any transparency. That was something that we highlighted in the letter that we sent even before this notice of the intent to sue, that the community members have been saying, why is there not more transparency? Why has there not been more public hearings? There's been a couple flyers that don't have a lot of information about what's happened since the beginning, since they started operating back last June. And now the community is saying we're demanding answers because if the city and if the county is not going to do their job, then we're going to file this notice of intent to sue under the Clean Air Act.
Questions? I'm going to introduce my panel right now. Joining us, Dr. Mustafa Santiago, lead former senior advisor for environmental justice at the EPA. We also out of D.C., Randy Bryant, entrepreneur, author of Never Say It, 25 Phrases You Should Never Ever Say to Keep Your Jobs and Friends. Also D.C., Joe Richardson, civil rights attorney out of L.A. Mustafa, this is your lane. I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, Brad, it's good to see you and continue the good fight. You know, it's curious. So there, of course, there are the state environmental regulations. On the federal side, we've got NEPA. You've got Title V permits. You've got a number of different things that folks have to go through to be able to, legally run these types of things. What's the analysis look like in relationship? I'll just stay on the EPA side of the equation, and the various environmental laws, statutes, and regulations that folks have to be in compliance with.
Bray, did you hear Mustafa's question?
I did not hear your question. No.
Let's see if we can try it again. Mustafa, see if you can ask it again, and then let's see if a Bray can hear.
Okay. Well, Brad, first of all, I was saying it's good to see you.
I did.
Yeah. So let me put it in context. So we know that we've got, a couple 100,000 people who are dying prematurely from air pollution. We know these turbines are going to be, causing additional impacts. My question was, there are state regulations that folks have to follow. Then, of course, on the federal side of the equation, we've got everything from NEPA to Title V permits to a number of other laws, statutes, and regulations that folks have to be in compliance with to even be able to get a permit. So my question is, staying on the EPA side of the equation, how are folks able to move forward on these various sets of things that have to be in place before you can even start business?
Yeah. Well, typically, I guess from the standpoint of the company themselves, they have to look at what the different standards are, for example, as it relates to clean air. And so if you have, for example, 35 gas turbines that are running and operating, they have to apply for permits to ensure that they are actually able to run those turbines actually in a community. The community itself also has the ability to ask questions because these processes are supposed to be open to the public. So, for example, if someone applies for a permit, that's information that the community should be able to find out. And that's how, for example, the community found out that these turbines were operating without any permits at all. There's also the way that this can move forward from a community standpoint as well, is that they also look at, for example, their county Department of Health, or depending on the state, there's other potential regulating agencies who are part of that process. In this situation, we have the Shelby County Department of Health, who should be saying whether or not operating this many gas turbines at a particular time, whether or not that is detrimental to people's health. And in this situation, the Shelby County Department of Health has also dropped the ball by not actually making that recommendation, by not actually making that clear to XAI as well. But XAI also is supposed to be running a permitted operation, which they're not.
All right, Joe.
I surmise, I understand why you're suing the company, but given that the city is at the very least complicit, is there any thought to possibly now or at some other point actually bringing something or involving the city and or what are supposed to be the regulating agencies related to this on top of bringing claims against the company?
Well, we absolutely have continued to say that we believe that there are a lot of individuals and agencies who have been a part of failing South Memphis. And so we are keeping our options open as to additional ways to ensure that we're fighting with the community in South Memphis. And we have not taken any potential legal actions off the table.
Andy.
Has anybody been to XAI to actually evaluate what is happening right now? I mean, it seems as if there's like a dark mystery and we don't even know what's happening there. Has anybody actually been able to tour the plant? Have any inspections happened? I mean, at all, or are they just allowed to run with no regulation?
The community is doing what they can, and they're asking questions when they can. Unfortunately, there have not been many opportunities for the community to ask the regulating agencies and bodies what they've actually done in order to ensure their health, in order to ensure their safety. And so a lot of the information, it's either bits and pieces of information of just knowing the clear violations of the law, or the community having to take matters into their own hand to figure out, for example, how many gas turbines are operating at a particular time unpermitted in their community. But I agree. This is something where this is where your elected officials should be standing on behalf of the community to make sure that there's more transparency. This is where your regulating agency bodies should be standing on behalf of the community members to make sure that there's transparency about any deals that have been created, about what they have uncovered in their conversations. And unfortunately, a lot of that information has not been made public.
All right, then. Bray, we appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. Keep us abreast what happens in this story next.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Hello, I'm Isaac Hayes III, founder and CEO of Fanbase. Listen to what I'm about to tell you. The window to invest in Fanbase is closing. We've raised over $10.6 million of our $17 million goal. That means there's room for less than 6,370 people to invest in Fanbase for the average amount. The minimum to invest in Fanbase right now is $399. That makes you an owner in Fanbase today. Go to startengine.com/fanbase to invest. Why? Because current social apps have taken advantage of users for far too long, with content suppression, shadow banning, harmful racist content, and no real tools for monetization and equity. Fanbase has over 1.4 million users and counting, allowing anyone to reach all their following and monetize their content from day one. Social media is the new TV, and whoever owns the apps that distribute that content have the opportunity to own potential billion-dollar companies. While big platforms with uncertain futures are failing to serve their users, Fanbase is stepping up to fill the gap. Don't wait until it's too late. Invest now, invest for yourself and your future. Go to startengine.com/fanbase and own the next generation of social media.